actually, Jennie and I are in a couple of, well, we're not in books together, but there's a series of books called the Millionaire Books, which I think you guys are all familiar with, that I'm in one, and Jennie's actually in two. But not just that, she is also in a book with this gentleman here by the name of Brian Tracy. So, wow. Yeah, exactly. That's the response you want. Wow. Has everybody heard of Brian Tracy? One of the most respected, well-known wealth experts. Just an amazing man. And Jennie's in a book with Brian Tracy. So that in itself is amazing. But really one of the first influences Jennie had on my life was when I did the CEO Sleep Out this year in June. I was really struggling to get people to donate, and I wanted to hit $2,000. You know, I hit $1,000 last year, and I wanted to do $2,000 this year. And then I was at say $700, and overnight I went to $1,200. And I thought, oh my goodness, must be a mistake. And I looked in there and I logged on, and there was a thing, Jennie Brown, $500. I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
No.
And I've gone, oh my good, yeah, it does deserve a round of applause. And really, Jennie, the connection between Jennie and I was just that we'd been in a couple of books together, and we were in a Facebook group for the Millionaire Authors. So, and it was just the most amazing donation and show of friendship. So then we connected, and then we had coffee together up in Sydney, and now she's here today, and best-selling author, international speaker, talks about wealth, the power of giving, and in turn the power of receiving. But if you could all please be upstanding, and let's put our hands together for Jennie Brown.
Oh boy. So I come from Brisbane, and actually I used to live in Sydney for quite some time, and I worked in Sydney, and I worked in corporate, and that was kind of at the beginning of my working life, and now I enjoy an amazing life, and I'll tell you a little bit about that while I'm talking to you. But before we go any further, there's a couple of things, okay? Because I'm from Queensland and we're pretty casual up there, if I was in Queensland I would be doing this probably in bare feet, but I wore shoes today. You're probably pleased because I've got socks on as well. But the other thing is that we like to think we're a little bit friendly, so I need you to interact a little bit more than I've seen you doing today. Is that okay? Okay, let's try that again. Because you see, I really want to give you a great hour, but the more you give back to me, the more I'm going to give to you. So, is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's better than Queensland, by the way. Okay, all right. Let me ask you a question. What's the toughest thing you're facing in your business right now? Discipline? Tell me what you mean by discipline.
Sitting down and doing the top 3 things on my list.
Okay, all right. So motivation? Okay, can I write that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else got that problem? Yeah, come on, be honest. Anyone else got that problem? All right, what else?
Time management.
Time management? You know, I've sat and listened to Kim, and he's given you some really great strategies today, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Really great stuff. I actually wrote some notes. I'm going to take them home and tell my husband to implement them in his business. I'm serious. Okay, what else? Culture, very important. I have this saying, which I'm sure you've all heard, start as you intend to finish, which is why you all had to respond to me first, because that's how I intend to finish today, with us responding to each other. Okay, what else?
Overload.
Overload, so you're feeling overloaded, all right. Anything else?
Cash flow.
Cash flow? So the rest of you are going to tell me you've got no problems in your business and you're all good.
Getting new clients.
Yes, very good one. The rest of you, is that true? You've got no problems?
I agree with all of that.
You agree? All right. Anything else before I...
Marketing.
Marketing. Okay, so we've all got a lot of problems in our businesses, haven't we? Correct? Okay. So would you mind if I tell you a little story? Is that okay?
Yeah.
You give me permission, thank you very much. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my background. I was broke, divorced, unemployed, and facing cancer. I didn't have it, by the way, but there was a time there where I was being investigated in hospital for it. I came out of a very, very tough marriage. I was 30. I wanted to be a millionaire when I was 30, and instead I was the total opposite. And I sat down and had a hard look at my life, and I decided that I was going to spend the rest of my life living well, not just living, but living well, and that I was going to find a way to do it on my terms. So I studied successful people, and I used what knowledge I had. Now, I grew up with a father who was a property investor, and we were really poor when I was born, and he decided to change that. And so I grew up in homes that were renovated, subdivisions, building projects, and I just thought it was normal to use property. So I'm actually an Australian property investing expert, and that's how I landed on a stage for the first time, was talking about property investing. But what happened was, at the age of 30, when I'm broke, destitute, unemployed, facing a cancer scare and everything like this, I just, like I said, had this really good look at my life, and I went, this is not how I wanted to live my life, it's not how I choose to live my life now, so I'm going to do something about it. And I used property as my tool. So I went out and I did the only thing I could at that time, because I have very limited resources. I actually was working 3 jobs. How many of you have worked that hard? Come on, how many of you have worked that hard? Yep, okay. Getting something is not necessarily quick and easy. You have to actually find a way to work at it. That's correct, isn't it? So I went out and I worked and I built a house, and everybody said I was nuts because it was just me, 2 dogs and 2 cats. And they said, why do you need a house like that? I built it on half an acre, but I built it on the edge of a town just up the road in New South Wales. And I built it because I knew that that was the type of property, going back to my property knowledge, the resources that I had, and I knew that that type of property would command a good resale at some stage. And it did. 3 years later, I sold it with enough profit to have the choice to never actually have to go and work for somebody else again. Pretty cool, huh? All right? So property is my chosen tool. So I had no idea how much knowledge I had about property. And one of the things I really want you to hear from me today and take on board is, you will have something that you have knowledge about that very few people have. There is something that you have that I definitely don't have. I have property knowledge that very few people have. I had no idea I had it. So what I did was I started doing property deals. You know, I did strata titles and subdivisions, and I know a lot about Australian property markets. I'm the only educator in Australia who teaches how to invest in a property market and read the market properly, not just go out and do it for the sake of doing it. So I've made a lot of money in property, and that's how I ended up in the Millionaire series. So I ended up in the Property Millionaire, and then a little while later they asked me to do mindset, because the other thing I teach is mindset. I stood on a stage one day, and they really annoyed me actually. They asked me over and over and over again if I would come and talk about one of these deals that I was doing, and I didn't think I had that knowledge. And you're probably very similar. You may not realise or think that your knowledge is of value to other people. But one of the reasons I actually agreed to step on a stage was because the stuff that was being taught, my dad was my mentor and he passed away, so I went looking for another mentor. And you heard Kim this morning a number of times, Steve's talked, and I'm sure you'll hear this over and over again from successful people. We all go looking for mentors as well as mentoring others, right? It's a very, very important part of being successful. And so I'm looking for a mentor, and I'm going to events, and I'm listening to what's being taught, and I'm going, well, starters, I know more than that, and second, that strategy won't make money, that's only going to line your pocket. And that really annoyed me, which is why I started speaking in property. So I did this talk to 300 people, and I watched people get it, that they actually could invest in property and make money out of it. Okay? So that's how I started my journey. So over time though, what I realised was that, and I started running property seminars of my own, because here was the next thing, right? I stood on that stage for free, but the promoter got paid a lot of money, okay? And I made him look really, really good. And I went, why should I have all this knowledge that is of value, and again, your knowledge is of value, why shouldn't I be paid rather than he be paid, someone else be paid? So I started running seminars. But over time, I started to notice a number of things, and this will happen even this weekend, all right? So here's what happens. I'm going to be kind about the figures. There are some people who will tell you they're more than this, but we'll go. You've all heard of the 80-20 rule? What's it called? Pareto's law. Okay. This is what would happen. I would have a room full of people interested in learning about property investing. We'd have a great time. I'd even crack a joke or two. They'd all go home. On Monday morning, 80% did nothing. 20% did something. A lot of the 20% did something stupid. Well, they went and bought a negative gear property, or they did something that actually cost them money instead of making them money. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you here because you want to make money in business? Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so one of the big turning points for me, and there's been a lot of them over the years, is the realization of this was that most people don't use the knowledge that they have, and also that I'm talking to people who are paying me for my expertise but not using the knowledge or not using it wisely. So then I decided a couple of years ago that I was only going to work with high-end clients that paid me a lot of money to work one-on-one with, and I only take 7 a year. Okay, fair enough? Now the other thing I realised in amongst all of this was when I was working with clients in my mid-high-end programs that I was spending most of my time, and again the 80-20 rule came into play, I was spending 80% of my time on, does anyone know what? Trying to change your ideas. Kind of, you're on the right track. It was on there. What was it on? Mindset. And 20% of it was on the actual strategy of how to do property. So I can stand here today and I can spend the next half hour and I can tell you how, for example, to do a strata title and make 100 grand using about 20 hours of your time over maybe the next 6 months. Would you like that? Yeah. Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, that's why people came to me, because I can show you how to do that. But did any of them go and do it? About 1 in 10. And they made a lot of money out of it. So I got really frustrated with this and I just thought, well, here's the thing. I already had a really, really great life. Now, I heard Kim say he works 35 hours a week. And I also heard him say that if he looked at your diary, he could tell what your priorities were. This is what my diary looks like. I had a little bit of a chuckle with Steve up the back. Monday, unavailable. Friday, unavailable. Till 10:30 every morning, unavailable. After 3, unavailable. I work maybe, please don't tell my husband this, okay, because he thinks I work when I'm at home, maybe 12 hours a week. And recently, we sold a deal where we doubled our money. Does that sound good? Okay, so now you know that I'm okay at property. We got that settled? One of the things, though, that made another turning point for me was that I realised that the business of property investing was actually a business. Do you hear that? What is it? It's a business. Come on, try it again. What is it? It's a business. And there are lots of things in the business of property investing that translate into business right across. For example, I have to know how to sell. I have to know how to negotiate. I have to know how to make deals. I have to know how to meet supply and demand. I have to know what the market wants. Are we getting it? All these things are the same in property as they are in business. And so I turned my property investing into a business and it went even more successful. Sounds good. Right. So in the time I have with you this afternoon, what I want to do is I want to work with you on you. Because you see, you are the most important person in this room, aren't you? And you've come aside and you've put some time aside today and tomorrow to work on your business. But here's a really big hint. If you work on you, you will be working on your business. Does that make sense? You should write that down. When you work on yourself, you are working on your business. So if you're working on you, you are working on your business. So I'm just going to give you some things today to help you work on you. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, can we have a little bit of fun while we do it?
Yes.
All right, because I really like fun. I mean, I spend my life travelling, you know, doing what I want to do. Yesterday, my mum rang up, said she was going out for lunch with her old friends. They're like 90. I went to lunch with them because I can. It's really simple, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tips today and a few things to work on that I believe will help you in business. And these are the things that I've learnt for myself and also that I've seen other people use who are successful as opposed to those who aren't successful. Fair enough? Okay. And all those things that you put up at the beginning here when I asked you what were the biggest challenges you were facing in your business, they all come back to one thing. Do you know what it is? It's you. And it's what's going on up here. So let's start working on it. So I have a question for you. The one thing that I have noticed about successful people as opposed to unsuccessful people is just one thing. And today it's kind of been hinted at, it's been given different names, but we're going to work on it with you right now. Let me ask you a question. How many of you in this room right now could tell me why you're in business? Anyone? Hand up straight if you can. All right, have a look around the room, guys. The rest of you, okay, those of you who kind of went like this, I'm telling you haven't got it yet. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. You haven't got it yet. And Kim, because you've just had this wonderful couple of hours before, you know, Kim, I listened to Kim. And Kim said that he went to work and he was working and all the rest of it. And then he got hit here because he realised that the most important thing for him was what? His family. And I would dare say, Kim, that you realise that that is your reason why.
Yep.
But you may not have identified it earlier, okay? And can I go so far as to say, perhaps, that when you realise that, that's also when your business took another step up?
Yeah, very much so.
Correct, okay. So the one thing I've noticed about successful people is that they know why they do what they do and they know what outcome they want from it. So they haven't, and I'm going to use property as an example because I saw this all the time, someone would wake up and they were 50 and they'd think, oh my goodness, I've got to retire soon, the economy's terrible, oh my goodness, the kids are gone, I don't have to pay college, but what am I going to do? I can't afford to live. And so they go, what am I going to do? Well, there's three ways to make money. There's property investing, there's shares, and there's business. Well, I've got a job, so I better not look at business. It's too late for me anyway. And shares, well, this is what they do with property, right? Share traders, they do it the other way around. They look at property and they go, oh my goodness, that just baffles me. And so they go out and they become a property investor. And they do it by going to a seminar and some idiot would tell them to do negative gearing and they would be in worse trouble than they were before because it would be costing them money and not helping them get to their retirement fund. Okay? So if you've woken up one day and you've gotten into business just because you feel like getting into business or because you thought it might fulfill a need, that's not going to really help you be successful in business. You really have to get your reason why. So we're going to workshop this. So in the back of your folders, you've got some sheets of paper, correct?
Yeah.
That's because I asked for them.
Oh.
You can all say thank you. Come on. That's good. Excellent. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about why you are in business. So write this at the top. Why am I in business? Now, I'm just going to explain something to you, all right? I sat in a coffee shop with a friend one day. She rang me up and she said, can we have lunch? And I said, yes, sure. So she sat me down and she said, Jenny, I want to be a property investor. And I went, why? And she just looked at me and she said, well, I want to make some money. Stock standard answer, right? How many of you want to make money? Come on, hands up. Anyone here not want to make money? Okay, all right. And I said to her, why do you want to make money? Do you know it took me an hour to get to the bottom of why she wanted to invest in property, and it had nothing to do with property. It was all about lifestyle. And it generally is for most people. But it will have slightly different slants for each person. So what I want you to do is I want you to just take a couple of minutes. Now, normally I workshop this over 3 days, and it's one of the things we come to the conclusion of. Your purpose, your reason for being in business or doing life or property investing or whatever it is that you want to do. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes, and I really want to encourage you to really put yourself into this. Ask yourself, why am I in business? What am I hoping to achieve out of it? And when you have that answer, ask yourself why you want that. And when you have that answer, ask yourself why you want that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Any questions? Okay, so we're just going to take a couple of minutes, and I want you to answer that question for me.
How many times you want us to?
As many as you can go, because, you know, here's the thing. Sorry, I'll just interrupt you for a moment. Here's the thing. People spend their whole lives losing their reason why. So if you get it in the next 2 minutes, that's going to be absolutely amazing. If you already have it, that's wonderful. But you need to get on the track to getting it, and this is where you start. Okay, so go as many times as you can in the time that I give you. And when you're done, if you can look at me so I know. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there someone in this room brave enough to work with me for a moment? Come on. Andrew, excellent. Could you stand up, please, and maybe face them so they can hear you, and tell me what you landed with as your why? And are you brave enough to do this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. People pay me thousands for this, so. See how he jumped at it? You should always jump at opportunities. Do you understand? So you're not going to miss the next one, are you? All right, go for it.
I love creating things that help people.
You love creating things that help people. Okay, why?
It brings me joy to see them grow.
Right. Well, why does it make you joyful?
It's very fulfilling for me.
What do you get out of it?
The sense of fulfillment, the sense of achievement, the sense of happiness, I guess.
Okay. So see how simple that was? All right. Now, where did you start?
I want to live a life of freedom.
I want to live a life of freedom. Do you know that's what most people tell me? If I asked you what was the one thing you wanted out of business, 90% of this room would put their hands up and tell me financial freedom. And can I give you a little stat about financial freedom? Less than 1% of people in the world achieve it. And we live in the best country in the world to achieve it, and we still are not achieving it. Okay, thank you, Andrew. That's awesome. So now, yeah, give him a round of applause. So this is what you need to do, okay? So Andrew's well on his way to working out his purpose, okay? And you'll see it had really nothing to do with where he started, with financial freedom. And let me tell you something else. Purpose usually has nothing to do with money. It's never about the money. It's always about something else within us. And I can always tell when people are really close or they've landed on their purpose, because here's what happens. I heard people cry in seminars just like this because they've suddenly gotten what it is that they want to do. Now, here's the thing about this. If you know why you are doing what you are doing, that will drive you to succeed. Now, Andrew, was it you that said motivation was a lacking thing, okay? And I really loved that answer. It was a great one. If you're lacking motivation, I'll tell you, you're not being inspired enough to do what you do, and you need to change what you're doing in some way. Find a way to be inspired by what you're doing. Here's the thing. I kind of had this little thing, I call it the pyramid. And in life, most people operate at this level. They have a job, they've got very little motivation, they don't really have any goals. They just go through life one day to the next. You know, they get up in the morning, they hit the alarm, they might hit the snooze, they kind of stumble into the shower. Kind of like that 9 to 5 song that Dolly Parton sings, you know? Stumble out of bed, And then they get in the car and they drive like a zombie to work, and then they work all day and they're not very happy at their work because most people aren't. And then they come home and they're nagged by the wife and kids because they're never spending time. And the next day they get up and they do it all over again, and they wonder when they get to 60 why their life is so miserable. Correct? That's what most people do, right? But somewhere along the line, there's a level of people who kind of get out of this, and you're already beyond this because you're business owners, correct? This room is full of people who are in business or managing businesses, right? Who say there's got to be more to life than that. And so they might become a little bit entrepreneurial or buy a business or invest in property or shares or something like that. And they'll start to maybe get some goals and things like that. Now, I could spend the whole day talking to you about goals and how to write them and all the rest. I've spent a lot of time with Brown2, who is, I believe, one of the world's leading expert on goal setting. And I have soaked that up and it's changed my life. So, you know, these people, they sort of start to do goals and things like that. But then there's those who go a little bit higher and they actually break out of that and they write their goals regularly and they know their reason why. But you'll notice that as we go up this pyramid, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Very few people ever get up the pyramid. And then there's the top of the pyramid. Now, I'm not going to talk about the top of the pyramid today, but let me tell you that it's an amazing place to be. Very few people reach it because they don't start pushing themselves up through here, and very few people reach the top of the pyramid because they have no idea why they're on this earth. Okay? So here's the thing, your business needs to align to your purpose. Okay? Your business needs to align to your purpose. And if it doesn't, then that will tell you a lot of things about your business. Okay? So if I can use myself as an example, my purpose, very clearly, is to help and empower other people to find their purpose. That's what it is. And it is to do that, and then I want to change the world. And I'm doing it one person at a time. Today I'm doing it a room full at a time. That's my goal in life because I want to leave a better legacy behind, and I want people to have a better legacy. That's my whole purpose. Now, a lot of people confuse purpose with the way they achieve their purpose. Now, you already know I'm a writer, okay? I'm also a speaker. So they are some of the ways that I achieve my purpose. I also do one-on-one mentoring with people, coaching and things like that. So they're my tools to achieve my purpose. But a lot of people would say, oh, Jennie, your purpose is to be a speaker. That is how I achieve my purpose. And once you land on your purpose, you're going to know because it will not change. I don't care what they tell you. When you get to your purpose, it will not change. The only thing that will change is the way you achieve your purpose. Mine changes regularly. A couple of years ago, I wrote heaps of books and did heaps of writing. I was an editor for an international online women's magazine. I wrote books. I did this. I wrote for magazines. I was published in property magazines in Australia. And I wrote and wrote and wrote. And at the end of the year, I went, oh, I just want a little time off from writing. I'm going to do more speaking. So I went out and this year I've done a lot more speaking, but I still do it on my terms because I have a life. Say it with me. Life. And I enjoy my lifestyle, so I do it on my terms. So if your purpose is clear and your business is not in alignment with it, then you will struggle. Fair enough? You need to be really clear on why you're doing this. Okay, that's enough about purpose for now. I would really encourage you to keep using that exercise until you can write a statement of purpose for yourself. And your statement of purpose for yourself is probably going to be fairly similar to your statement of purpose for your business. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, let's move on to another thing that I have noticed over the years. And I've got to tell you that this actually bamboozles me because most people measure wealth and success by one thing. What is it? Money, correct? Yeah. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Now, I personally don't measure wealth and success by money, even though I have money. I measure it by being happy in what I'm doing. That's how I measure it, okay? But money is very important, isn't it? Yeah. Would you agree? Yes. Anyone here not agree that money is important? Come on, anyone want to disagree with me? My husband would say it's not good to disagree with me. So I'm pleased you all agree. So, but here's the thing, right? You have to know what it is that you're looking to achieve with your purpose, but you also need to know what you're looking to achieve with your money, correct? Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to do a little exercise. I call this the Mickey. So if you can take a clean sheet of paper again. Okay, I like to make things up. The Mickey stands for make it and keep it. Now, I told you earlier on that I'm a property investor and I don't work a lot because I have a portfolio that ticks over. Well, when I say I should say we, because my husband and I have both worked towards this. We have a portfolio that ticks over and it gives us a passive return on our investments. How many of you would like to do that? I mean, Kim just said his business is doing that, and your businesses should be working towards that if they're not there already. And so the Mickey applies to your business. It's make the money, and then work out how to keep the money, how to keep investing it so that it keeps giving you a return, all right? Here's the thing. How many of you could tell me right now how much money you need to live on? One. We got a problem. We got a big problem. And you're going to sort it out right now. You have to know this, because how much money is enough? My husband and I had this conversation this week because we are very comfortable and he likes to work. He has a business and he enjoys that business, right? But I said to him, how much is enough? If you're doing it for the money, it isn't worth it, which we're not. But he said, I like to just accumulate a bit more in case the economy and whatever. And that's okay, that's fine. But we've already reached our targets that we set ourselves a number of years ago. You need to start to set some targets. So this is the exercise you're going to do. Under the Mickey, so you know what we've talked about, I want you to just sit there for a moment and I want you to think very seriously about this. Okay, so listen to me very carefully about the answer that you're going to put on that piece of paper. I want you to think about how much money do you need per year to live on to have a very basic life. Now when I say basic, I mean no nights out on the town. I don't mean private schools for your kids, and I don't mean fancy houses. I mean if everything got stripped back and you had to go and live on basic level, how much money do you need per annum? Have a think about it. Now you do have to live somewhere, so it's either going to be a rent or a mortgage. You're going to feed yourself, you've got to clothe yourself. If you've got kids, they've got to come into the picture somehow. It costs money to send them to school, even if it's public school. How much money do you need to live on, basically? And when you've got that, just look at me so I know you've got the number. Okay, we all good? Everybody got their number? Now, I don't want you to tell me what it is. This is your business, okay? Well, I will be able to tell by the looks on your faces what's going on with you anyway. Okay. I'm going to use a number for the purposes of this exercise. Is that okay? All right, so the number I'm going to choose is 50,000. All right, so if you want passive income of $50,000 from a business or property or a portfolio of shares or whatever it is that you choose to have it from, wherever you choose to invest it, okay? What do you think you could get as a return percentage-wise on your money if it was invested? Let's start with property. How much is the usual rent return, gross, not net? It's around 5, correct? Everybody agree with that? So if you put it into property, the most you're going to achieve is 5% because then you've got all these other expenses. Okay, now I'm here to tell you you can do way better than that in property, but if you want to know about that, you'll have to pay me a lot of money and get educated in property, okay? We're not here to have a property conversation. You can do a lot better, okay? However, 5%. If I put the money in the bank, what do I get? 3. Okay, I saw 4% advertised this week. So can we agree to use 4%? Okay? All right, but would you say, what about in business? How much can you get in business? 10, 20? 10, say? Passive income. I'm not talking about you working on the business, in the business. Sorry, I'm not talking about you being in there every day. I'm saying, I'm here and my properties are still paying me money. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so it's 10? Okay. So can I, for the purposes of this exercise, use 10%, knowing that it may be less and it may be more. Is that all right? Now, I want an agreement on that because the last time I did this, somebody got really upset and said 10 was an impossible number to achieve. Okay, 10?
Yeah.
All right, it's just an exercise. Okay, so how much money do I need invested at 10% to get $50,000? 500,000, thank you. Okay, for those of you who don't know how to do the maths, and you're business people, so you should know the numbers, you add a 0 on the end for 10%. So write down your number. How much money do you need to have invested at 10% to get your basic passive income? Okay. Have a look at that number for a minute. And then put your hand up if you already have access to those funds. And by access, I don't mean that your house is mortgaged. That's not access to funds, okay? Because it's mortgaged. I mean you can actually find $500,000 cash very quickly in the next week or so. How many of you can do that? Kim? Myself? No one else? You got a problem. Do you see what I mean? You're in business. Why are you in business? To make money. It's one of your reasons, isn't it? And if you don't know what it is that you're looking to invest in or to get to, you're in trouble. Now, how long do you want to do this in? This is basic, guys. I mean, it's a basic lifestyle. How long do you want to be living the way you are living now, working towards this before you have this level of achievement? A year? 2 years? 5? 10? I had a birthday last month. Anybody had a birthday this year? Come on, anybody had a birthday this year? Okay. So actually, this is really funny. My husband's a little bit older than I am, and we were driving somewhere the other night, and we were talking about our futures. And we're in a bit of a state of transition because I'm doing a lot more travel, international travel and speaking and things like that, and his business is being slowly passed on to his sons. And so we're both changing the way we live, which is wonderful, right? We both do what we enjoy, and that's our choice, but we're now going into another phase. And so we were talking about money and access to money and things like this, and how much we needed as a base income, which we have a very good idea of, and how much we actually have coming in, and how many holidays a year that's going to let us have, and all the rest of it. And he says to me, but I'm only, and I'm not going to tell you how old he is, and I said, no, you're not, sweetheart. He said, yes, I am. And I said, no, you're not, sweetheart. You're a year older than that. No, I'm not. And I said, yes, you are. What year were you born? And he tells me, and I said, what year is it now? 2013. 113 minus the year you were born is what? And he looks at me and says, you're the maths whiz, you tell me. And I said, the age I'm telling you that you are. Now, how many of you right now could tell me your age right now without thinking about it? Anyone here have to think about it? My husband does. Okay, but here's the thing. Have you noticed that the older you get, the quicker those birthdays come around? Have you noticed that? It's true, isn't it? It's true, right? And here's the other thing. I don't know about you guys, but I'm past the middle of my life, probably. I might not look it, and thanks very much for the compliment, but I am. I'm certainly over the middle of my life as far as average lifespans go, and I know that time is getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life worrying about whether I've got that basic amount of money. And I don't, by the way, because I don't have to worry about it. But the reason I don't have to worry about it is because a number of years ago we sat down and said, well, we don't want to live on a basic lifestyle or a mediocre. We want to live on a good lifestyle, and this is what we need. And that's what we set out to do. So you have a very limited time. You have a very limited time to do this. You must start on it now. You know, my mum, a few years ago when my dad passed away, they had 2 cars, and my dad said to me, go buy her a new car when we're gone. So my mum got a little blue Mazda. Everybody know what a little blue Mazda 3 looks like? Do you know how many of those things there are around? Do you know I'd never seen one before we bought Mum and Blue Mass? That's right.
Now you see more time.
Now I see them all the time. So my point with this though is if you are not focused on what your outcome is, you will not get it. It's only when you start to see it that you start to see the opportunities to get it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody nod yes and go, yes, we get it. So what are you going to do about it? Because time is ticking away. Now, for Kim, seeing as you've got it, you need to work out your next level of lifestyle. You can take the kids out once a week, maybe a holiday once a year, and maybe a nicer house. Got that yet?
No, we have, but the holidays is a big part of our life, so we have between probably 4 to 6 holidays a year, so lifestyle's very big
Okay.
for us.
So what I'm saying is though that Kim has worked on the next level, achieved it, and gone to the next level, and is probably past that as well. I say there's 4 levels. Really basic, kind of okay, getting better, and then the Richard Branson lifestyle. Okay? All right? And you need to know what each of those lifestyles represent for you. So can I encourage you to write a goal and head towards this as fast as possible? Can I encourage you to do that?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give you 2 more things as I wrap up. Following on from this, I'm going to tell you something that most of the world will disagree with. But I'm going to tell you it makes me successful. And the people I've seen who do this sleep at night. Are you ready for it? Get out of, anyone know what the word is? Comfort zone? Any other takers?
Your own way.
Get out of your own way? Anyone else? Yes. 4-letter word. Debt. Get out of debt. What happened in 2008? The GFC. Do you remember that? Did it hurt? Come on, did it hurt? Okay, my phone would ring every day with people who had bought properties, negative geared, supposedly properties double every 7 to 10 years. That's rubbish, by the way, it's not true. Okay, they wanted capital growth and now they were facing bankruptcy, financial disaster, etc., etc. The reason why they were in so much trouble was because of this, and I'm going to use property as an example. If you buy a $500,000 property, what's the LVR, the loan to value ratio, does anyone know? It's 80%, you're allowed to borrow up to 80%, standard. That's 400,000. Does anyone know what the property market fell by in 2008 on average in Australia? 20%. So now their property that was worth 500k is now worth 400, and their mortgage is now 400, which means their LVR is now 100. And I don't know if you know this, but in every mortgage in Australia, there's a little clause that the bank puts in there at the back that says, we can at any time revalue your property and require you to drop it to the LVR. How many of those people would have had $80,000 to get themselves to $320,000? I can tell you, not many of them. And do you know what? Right now, it's the first time since the 2007-2008 fiasco, I am getting a call nearly every day with people in the same position. People are not in a good position at the moment because they've invested in a crazy way. If you are in debt, you are in trouble. Get out of debt. You see, we own our portfolio debt-free. We have a very small debt which we could pay off tomorrow with cash we've got if we wanted to. We sleep at night. If one of our units is not rented, it doesn't matter. If interest rates go up, it doesn't matter. If they go down, it doesn't matter. If we don't work for 6 months, it doesn't matter because it's okay. Okay? So successful people get out of debt. All right, I'm going to give you one more thing following on from this. I kind of had a little bit of a chuckle when Steve told you that story. And that is this, that all successful people I know give. Give generously, okay? So I'm going to talk to you for a moment about giving. I don't normally tell people that I donated money to Steve, okay? And quite frankly, $500 is not a lot of money. But I have a philosophy. There's two things about giving. I think there needs to be deliberate giving and there needs to be spontaneous giving. And do you know one of the things I enjoy the most is on Facebook, and I think this is how I found out about Steve doing the CEO sleepover. On Facebook, I'll see people say, hey, I'm going to Cambodia to open an orphanage. Need some support. Oh, we'll do that. Anonymous donation. They never know who it is. I do that regularly. But I also am very deliberate in my giving. My goal is to give away 90% of what I get. And I'm well on my way to it. Successful people give. Now, here's the thing. Economic times, what do we tend to do with our money? We hold it, don't we? All right, now let me ask you a question. Can anything get into that? Can it get in? Try it. Can it get into that, Tony? Have a go. You're not going to try very hard, are you? But it's true, isn't it? If you don't open your hand, what you won't give out also won't come back to you. But if you open your hand, what happens? You can receive as well. And you know, this is just a natural law, that when you give, it comes back. Now, it may not come back in the way you give it, and that's okay. And you don't give to get, please understand that. But you need to give. It's very important. Whenever my husband and I have faced a financial challenge, we open our hands and we give. And we have seen over and over again in our lives how much giving has benefited us. And if I may use today as an example, the reason I am here is because I opened my hand to support something that Steve was passionate about and which suits my philosophy of giving, which is homeless youth, which youth is my thing, kids. And now it's coming back because I get the privilege of spending today with you. Correct?
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you a question. Can I give you something?
Yes.
Have I given you something this afternoon?
Yes.
Can I give you something else? Okay. Let's try that again. Can I give you something else?
Yes.
You see, it was my birthday last month and I like to give presents. Okay, now I don't know what you did with the book, Steve, but I wrote one chapter in that book. I know Brian and he invited me to write a chapter in it. It's not available readily in Australia and I sold out of those books a long time ago. So, can I send you my chapter? It's on success. Would you like that?
Yes.
Would you like some other stuff?
Yes.
Okay, and here's the other thing. Would any of you like to spend a little bit of time with me?
Yes.
So I'm going to offer you a free half-hour consult with me by phone. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, but you have to take now. And I'll tell you straight up, 80% of you won't do it. So I'm safe. My holidays are good for the next 3 weeks. I did this in Melbourne a few weeks ago. There were 40 people in the room. 16 of them signed up for a half-hour consult. Do you know how many I've done in the last 3 weeks? 6. And it was on property. And that's where I am a real expert. Like, property is something I can just, whatever. But I'm going to offer you. So to do that, is Jaden in the room? Yes. You need those forms. Now, here's the catch. You'll need to go on my database so I can email you a downloadable link, okay? You can unsubscribe at any time. I won't spam you, blah, 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 blah. I won't even know if you've unsubscribed, okay? Because I have thousands of people on my database and I don't sit there waiting for you to unsubscribe, okay? So I won't be offended, all right? But I'd like to give you a gift and I'd like to give you something that will help you in the future. I want to just finish with a little saying. You know, it's not about the money, is it? It's not, okay? So, Mother Teresa said this: successful and wealthy people are not necessarily the ones with money. They're the ones who are living their God-given purpose. And that is my wish for you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jenny. I knew it was going to be a perfect finish to our Friday, so thank you very much.
Good, I can go now.
You can stay. We're not quite finished with you yet. Guys, all good?
Yes.
Excellent. Very, very good. I don't think we've ever had a speaker quite like you present to our breakthrough.
I'm
Business.
available.
Yeah. In a speaking sense.
Yes, in a
Very
certain
much
sense,
so.
yes. Not for marriage.
Not in a marriage.
No, I've got a good one now.
Got to keep up. So, guys, let's throw some questions at Jennie while we have her. Is there anybody yet? John?
You said get rid of debt.
Yes.
Did you use debt to get to where you got to?
We did, yes, because that's how we were taught. But one day we sat down and in actual fact, when I met my current husband, who, by the way, is the wonderful one, the first one was not so good one. You know, he had run a few things with leases, for example, on cars and things like that. We just pay cash now. We make sure we pay cash. He just bought me a brand new BMW. I was in America. He picked me up, came home, and it was sitting in the car in a garage with a bow on it. We pay cash for it. We pay cash for it, right? Nice present, huh? I deserve that. But you know, the other thing
Good
we
one,
really
wife
look
down
after
the
stuff.
back there.
Yeah, I know. The
What are you
women all
looking
say
at?
to me, "Tell my husband."
What does that mean? What does that look mean? Take your hands off your hips.
But
What does that mean?
we did start with debt, and when I'm teaching, for example, property or business or whatever, I do understand that you do need to have debt to some degree, but there are ways to minimise it. Okay? And I would really encourage you to get rid of it as fast as you can. As fast as you, I can give you tons of tips. If you ring me and you want to know about getting rid of debt, ask me about my tips for credit cards and things like that. I've got a pile of them.
Nice.
On how to get rid of your credit cards or minimise your expenses and stuff on them, your interest in that.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Just one other thing. I wrote down there like when we went through the whole purpose and why, you said like your purpose is to empower other people. And I guess it's a bit of a personal question. Why do you do that? Like what kind of emotion do you get from what you do?
Oh,
Like,
what do
when
I get
you go
from that?
home at the end of the day?
I have peace.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. I live in a state of peace. And if I'm not in peace, I know that I'm not being congruent to who I am. And, you know, so can I tell you something that I think is not so good? This happened yesterday when we went out for lunch with my mum and dad. And this is what I mean by this. With my mum, sorry, not my dad. My mum and her friends. We went to Sizzlers. That's their big thing out, right? And I was a little bit late, and one of them offered to pay for me, and I thanked her and said yes, because normally Steve and I had this conversation, because I'm a giver, I find it very hard to receive. So I said yes, thank you, that's my learning for this year. And we sat down, and anyway, she ordered me a salad bar, that's all I wanted. And you know, I don't know if you know, but when you go to Sizzler, if you want a drink, you pay extra for it. Well, I went to the drink bar, and without thinking, got a bit of lemonade and some water. Do you know, I lost my peace. And I didn't lose it then, because I didn't really think about it. It was just something I did. But on the way out of there, like down the road in the car, I actually rang Sizzlers to tell them that I'd done that and offered to pay for it, because I can't live out of that peace, if that makes any sense. You know, and so if you're comfortable at something, and that's why living without debt is really peaceful, guys. I've been in debt and not been able to repay it. You know, when my marriage broke up, that was terrible. I lost my job at the same time. I had properties, all sorts of stuff. It was the most horrific time in my life. And Kim's nodding. You know, when you can sleep at night and have that peace, it's worth everything. So what do I get out of it? That, for starters. But there's just so much joy in giving to people, you know, and watching them. Look how excited Steve was about his CEO thing. He thought it was a mistake. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't think it was a mistake.
You know, the $500.
I looked at it
Yeah.
this morning. I thought, oh my God, what's happened?
Yeah. You know, that's a buzz. And if I can help you, if I have helped you with just one thing today, you will then help the people around you, your family, whoever it is, your employees, your colleagues, and then they'll help someone else. And, you know, we can change the world. We can make it better. When Kim was talking today, he was talking about love. He was talking about being generous to people, about caring for people. It's just spreading the love, basically.
Do you guys remember the word for this weekend? We spoke about first thing this morning. Come on, just one person remember. Do you remember the word? Opportunity.
Opportunity, yeah.
Guys, killing me. Opportunity, what a wonderful opportunity we've got to learn, what an opportunity we've got to give.
To share.
Absolutely. And Jennie and I touched on during our conversation about giving and our learnings about accepting. When somebody wants to give you something, and I was a bad at it as well. I've got it, I'll pay for this, I'll do that. I was always, no, don't pay for my lunch, I've got it. When you do that and you take away someone's joy in giving,
Yeah, you take away their blessing, basically.
they want to do something nice for you by paying for your lunch, for example, and what you're doing is saying no. So you're actually taking away their ability to actually feel nice about doing something. So that was the lesson that I learned, I think, the week
And
discussed.
also, when you refuse a gift, this is what you're doing. Yeah.
Jenny,
Yes.
when's the best time to ring you?
What we'll do is we'll send you an email and we'll give you a link and you can book in the consult with us. But not before 10, not after 3, and not on Monday or Friday.
Queensland.
And it's Queensland time. It's all right. You can book it in New South Wales time. It'll just be a little bit different.
Wait till the cricket's over as well.
Oh, I don't care about the cricket. You can ring me during the cricket.
All right, guys, any more questions? One more question for Jenny? No?
Just one thing to back up. I think that was fantastic, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
Just the comment about debt, I think, is really profound because I'm in a similar situation where I have no debt, and the mindset it changes the whole mindset about taking more risks and being comfortable in your own skin. So I think what you said was fantastic in that area.
Yeah.
I think just to back up what you said, I
Yeah.
think it's very important.
Thank you, Kim. And I really appreciate that because I will tell you that I have stood on a stage as a lone wolf for 7 years telling people to get out of debt. It's just not done in the property industry, it's not done in business, it's not done in life, and I'm really passionate about it. In fact, I've made people stand up and commit to get out of debt with their hands on their hearts because I know how big the effect is, and it's great to have that back.
And a mindset shift.
Yeah.
If you are in debt, it's a mindset shift to go, I'm going to stop going that way, and we're going to start taking small steps sometimes to go break even and then onwards.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Would you like to put your hands together for Jennie?